The question of whether Catholics should read the King James Bible is not as straightforward as it may initially appear. While some might approach this topic with a simple yes or no, a proper answer requires a deeper understanding of the historical development of the King James Version, the Catholic Church's position on biblical translations, and the theological implications involved in reading a Bible not produced within the Catholic tradition. It also involves a careful appreciation for both the literary value of the King James Bible and the doctrinal integrity that Catholics are called to preserve in their spiritual lives. The King James Version of the Bible was first published in 1611 under the authority of King James I of England. The context of this translation is crucial to understanding its purpose and tone. England had undergone a radical religious transformation, breaking away from the Catholic Church in the 16th century during the reign of Henry VIII. The Church of England, which had established itself as independent from Rome, needed a unifying English translation of the Scriptures for liturgical and public use. Earlier English translations, such as the Geneva Bible, had strong Calvinist leanings and were considered politically problematic by the Crown. The King James Version was therefore commissioned as a more politically acceptable and ecclesiastically unified English Bible. The translation of the King James Bible was completed by a committee of scholars affiliated with the Church of England, what we would recognize today as Anglicans. These men were highly educated and well-versed in Greek, Hebrew, and Latin. However, they worked within the framework of the Protestant Reformation and brought with them theological assumptions that differed from Catholic doctrine. While the King James Version is not an overtly polemical translation, some of its interpretive choices do reflect a Protestant perspective. The most notable example is found in passages concerning Mary. In Luke 1:28, for instance, the Greek word originally used is translated as highly favored rather than the more theologically precise full of grace, a key phrase in Catholic teaching on the Immaculate Conception. One of the most important differences between the King James Bible and Catholic Bibles is the canon. The Catholic Church holds to a biblical canon that includes 73 books, 46 in the Old Testament and 27 in the New Testament. This canon was affirmed at the councils of Hippo and Carthage in the early Church and was reaffirmed definitively by the Council of Trent in 1546. Among the Old Testament books are the so-called deuterocanonical books, which include Tobit, Judith, Wisdom of Solomon, Sirach, Baruch, 1 and 2 Maccabees, and portions of Daniel and Esther. These were considered scripture by early Christians, included in the Septuagint, the Greek Old Testament widely used in the ancient world and used in the Church's liturgical life from the beginning. However, during the Protestant Reformation, many reformers rejected these books, labeling them as apocrypha. Martin Luther and other reformers considered them useful for reading but not inspired. Following this view, the King James Version originally included the deuterocanonical books in a separate section, but over time, particularly in the 19th century, they were removed from most editions entirely. As a result, the modern King James Bible typically contains only 66 books, lacking key portions of sacred scripture that Catholics believe are divinely inspired and doctrinally important. Thus, from the Catholic perspective, the King James is an incomplete Bible. Despite this, the King James Bible has earned widespread respect for its literary beauty and profound influence on the English language. Its translators employed a formal, majestic style of English that has deeply shaped Christian culture and devotional language in the English-speaking world. Many of its turns of phrase have become proverbial. Even among Catholic scholars and writers, there is admiration for the poetic power and reverence the KJV brings to the biblical text. For Catholics engaged in academic biblical studies, comparative theology, or interdenominational dialogue, familiarity with the King James Bible can be beneficial and even enriching. So, can Catholics read the King James Bible? The answer is yes, but with care and understanding. If a Catholic is well formed in their faith, they may read the King James Version for literary purposes, historical insight, or dialogue with Protestant friends. It may be especially useful in academic settings or for appreciating the beauty of biblical English. Even though it lacks the full canon, and in some cases, its translation choices can subtly skew meaning in ways that deviate from Catholic belief. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out my other content on theology and Christian history. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments.